On behalf of the Dean and Chapter of Westminster, a warm welcome to Westminster Abbey, to our guests who are here physically, and also to all those of you joining us virtually here at the Innocent Victims Memorial, which was dedicated by Her Majesty the Queen in October 1996. Here we remember all those who, although innocent, are victims of tragedies of war, persecution, disaster. Here we hold all of them in our memory and in our thanksgiving.
Hello everyone, I'm Barbara Stocking and I'm one of the members of the Steering Committee for a Humanitarian Memorial. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to join in, as you are doing, linked in on this video for the event that we're making to celebrate and honour World Humanitarian Day, which is on Wednesday the 19th. We miss you here at Westminster Abbey for our event, but we hope that you'll encourage your friends, your family, and in your organisations people to watch this video. It could be then that we reach a wider audience than we're usually able to do with people in person here at Westminster Abbey. Once again, we have to say a big thank you to the Dean and Chapter at Westminster Abbey for letting us hold our event around the memorial to innocent victims. As you know, we hope that before long we will have our own humanitarian memorial. Sir John Holmes, who chairs our committee, will bring you up to date with what's happening about that at the end of the event. I'll be making a few remarks to begin with, and then I'll be followed by Gareth Owen, who is the Humanitarian Director for Save the Children UK. Harbinder Kaur, who is a Humanitarian HR Director and who's worked for several agencies, will then speak, and she will lay the wreath on behalf of us all. We will share a few moments' silence before John brings the event to an end. To begin with, I'd like to remind everyone that this event is about all humanitarian workers who have lost their lives or suffered from their work. We remember those from the UK, but equally we remember all those from across the world who died for our cause, and especially those from local communities who are often the most at risk. While we honour those who've lost their lives, we also think of humanitarians today working in conflict zones or where there have been extreme disasters, and in all cases where they're putting themselves at risk for others. This year, I'd particularly like us to remember one humanitarian, Gil Losher, who died early this year, aged 75. Gil was one of the bravest and wisest humanitarians I've ever met. He was American, and he lived quite a lot of his life, though, in the UK. From the beginning, his commitment was to the rights of refugees. His research and advocacy were based on deep experience on the ground. And it was while he was in Baghdad doing this work and was in the UN headquarters at a meeting when the devastating bomb attack took place that destroyed that building. Gil was trapped deep down under tons of rubble alongside the UN Special Representative, Sergio de Mello. To get Gil out from that rubble, the rescuers had to amputate both his legs right there. Amazingly, Gil survived and showed enormous bravery in continuing his work for refugees, often including making field visits in a wheelchair. Though, of course, we recognise that it affected his health and well-being in so many ways. I and many of you watching this video will have had the privilege of meeting Gil here with his wife Anne and other members of the family as they came to this event. Gil and Anne have been great supporters of the memorial and have been on the reference group advising on our plans. As we lay the wreaths today then, I will be thinking about Gil and of course Anne and his family. I'd like to now hand over to Gareth Owen to speak.
It's indeed a strange privilege to be one of so few gathered here physically to commemorate lost colleagues. This year we particularly want to remember the many thousands of healthcare workers battling to save lives in conflicts and disasters and to bring the COVID pandemic under control. We stand in solidarity with them. We are humbled by their dedicated service to humanity. They are all heroes. So many have paid the ultimate price since we last gathered together. In the last few days and weeks alone, we mourn the loss of colleagues in Nigeria, in Niger, in South Sudan, and in Cameroon. And targeted attacks have continued throughout the year on aid workers in other conflict settings, in Syria, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, and in the Congo, making the last 12 months one of the deadliest years on record for humanitarian aid workers. Such attacks are crimes under international humanitarian law and serve to remind us of the risks our colleagues face every day on the front line. But aid workers don't just lose their lives in conflict settings, nor are those aid workers always full-time professionals working for agencies or governments. They are often just members of the local community, volunteering to help. At Save the Children, we're mourning the loss of one such health volunteer, helping us to build an isolation and treatment centre for COVID in the Rohingya community refugee camp. COVID-19 is a global pandemic that's touched everybody's lives. It reminds us that we are one body of humanity sharing one planet together, and so we are only ever as safe as the least safe place on Earth. We become heroes when we stand up for what we believe in, when we have the courage to follow what's in our hearts. All the world's sorrow is real, and grief is the price we pay for love. But that grief feels all the more real this year, when we're unable to offer each other the basic comfort of a hug. Our thoughts are with everybody grieving a loss this year. Your loved ones live on through you.
I've been privileged to be part of the Memorial Steering Group since it was set up, and I'm really pleased to be here today. As an HR director in the humanitarian sector, I've always been inspired by the courage, the compassion, and the commitment of humanitarian workers right across the world. They work in some of the most difficult and dangerous environments to deliver support and services to those most in need. They include drivers, community workers, outreach workers, as well as those who are deployed during major disasters. I think it's fitting that we establish a permanent memorial to mark their service and their sacrifice. The person who started this initiative is Elaine Laycock, who has worked so hard to get us to this point. Unfortunately, she can't be here today, but has asked me to read one of her own poems. It's called Roses for Remembrance. Roses show love, so did they. Roses look beautiful, so did they. Roses go strong and straight, and so did they. Roses can bleed, and so did they. Roses have thorns which can hurt, so did their deaths. These roses were brutally cut short, so were they. These roses lost their roots in the prime of life, so did they. These roses will wither and die, and sadly, so did they. But something beautiful will always remain. Roses have improved lives, and so did they. The memory of these roses will always remain, so will theirs. The rose's sight and smell will never be forgotten, nor will theirs. There are many roses for each generation, but for us there will only ever be just them. I'm laying this wreath of roses on behalf of us all and ask for a period of silence so we can think of family, friends, and colleagues who have given so much to the humanitarian effort. I would now like to introduce John Holmes, who is the chair of the steering committee, to say a few words.
Thank you very much indeed, Harbinder, and good afternoon, everyone. As current chair of the steering group, I wanted to give you an update on where we are on setting up the humanitarian memorial in this country. Let me remind you that we started this quest some 5 years ago, and we've attracted great support for the idea, managed to raise almost £400,000 to set up the memorial, and also identified an internationally renowned artist, Michael Landy, with the help of the Contemporary Art Society. And he has provided an interesting and inspiring contemporary design. So far was so good, but for far too long now we have been stuck, as many of you are aware, on the question of where the location of the memorial is going to be. And this has been a cause of huge frustration for everyone concerned. As many of you are aware, over the last 3 years we have conducted lengthy negotiations about 3 sites in London. First of all, the south bank of the Thames, then Kenwood House in North London, and also West Ham Park in East London. In all these cases, sadly, negotiations in the end proved fruitless, despite a huge amount of time and effort by many people. Local objections of various kinds, and I have to say in some cases lack of local council enthusiasm, simply proved too much, even when there has been, as there has always been, support in principle for the cause of the humanitarian memorial and for, of course, humanitarian work itself. So since the beginning of this year, we have had to think afresh. We have not abandoned the idea of London, and we still have 1 or 2 irons in the fire here. But we have also decided to broaden the search to cities in the rest of the country, with a particular focus on 2 metropolises, Manchester and Birmingham. And I'm delighted to say that both cities have shown serious initial interest in our suggestions. We have so far made more substantial progress with Manchester. Council officials there see the memorial as a good fit with their international aspirations, in particular their ambition to be a city of global peace. It is also relevant and helpful that an important humanitarian non-governmental organisation, the Mine Action Group, is based in Manchester and enjoys excellent relations with the council and the local community. Also, Manchester University has a special interest in these humanitarian issues. With Manchester, we've made progress not only on the principle, but also some progress in beginning to identify a site. Naturally, the coronavirus lockdown has complicated this search and slowed it down very considerably. A site visit by members of the steering committee has not yet been possible, but we hope to rectify this soon, which we believe will be an important step forward. So the overall message is one of great frustration that the process has taken so long, but a degree of optimism that we may now be on a more promising track, with our own enthusiasm finally matched by that of a local council. We are certainly pressing on with unlimited and undimmed commitment in this search. Meanwhile, I want to thank all of you for your support for this cause, and in particular for the donors who have contributed so much to this, for your patience in the face of this long process. Let me assure you that your contributions remain in good hands and that we hope for better news soon. Thank you very much again. And let me just end this ceremony with thanks once again to Westminster Abbey and the chapter here, to all who are watching, to all who have participated, and to all who are thinking of humanitarians on this important day. Thank you very much.